Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. So I came across this tweet from Cardi B yesterday. For those that don't know, she's a really famous rapper. And the question was, when are they going to announce that we're going to be in a recession? So today I want to discuss what a recession is, when they would announce it, assuming we go into recession, what you should do as an investor, and what this means for consumers and just us in general. So the first thing is this. If there is a recession, we would find out in late July. That is because you need 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth to be defined as a recession. What is GDP growth? GDP stands for gross domestic product. That is the value of all the stuff we produce, including all the services that we produce. You basically add all that stuff up. That is what we have as GDP. So did you produce more than what you did last quarter? Yes or no? Now in Q1 of 2022, we produced just a bit less. We were negative 1.4%. So if Q2 is negative, we will be in recession by definition. Okay, so mid-July, I would say really late July, because for example in Q1 we got those numbers in late April, so we should hear about it in late July once they finish doing all of the math that's required to come out with that number. So you need 2 consecutive ones. We got one already. We're gonna find out what happens in Q2. As of today, most economists think that Q2 is going to be positive. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so that is what a recession is. Now, recessions are usually marked by high unemployment, which we don't have right now. If we're not already there, we're very close to historic full employment, or really the best definition is a lot of people have jobs and a lot of people have options, and in fact we have more jobs than we got people willing to go and take those jobs. So we're fine on the health of the economy right now. Now yes, some companies like Tesla are looking to lay off people. There are a few select companies that overhired during the pandemic. They're looking to cut back, but we don't see sky high unemployment across the board. We don't see any raises in unemployment either, where things are starting to tick up. When you see negative GDP growth and high unemployment, that is a big problem. Is what we saw in 2020. It's definitely what we saw in 2007 and 2008. That is not occurring right now. Even if that doesn't occur, let's say that unemployment stays where it is, people got the jobs they want to get, they're getting the pay that they want to get, and we still have negative GDP, we're still going to be in a recession by definition, but it may not feel the same as what we've seen in other places or other eras in time. So just keep that in mind. So when it comes to a recession, what should you do, and then what is and isn't a recession? So number one, let's talk about what isn't a recession, and then we'll talk about what you should do, what at least you should consider. So high inflation doesn't necessarily automatically equal inflation. It can if it gets out of control, but that just because costs are going up, it doesn't necessarily mean that we produce less. Right now, if it goes too high and things get too expensive, then hey, truck drivers, right, may not be able to drive as much as they did in the past. So therefore, we produce less. So it can, if it's out of control, that could push you into inflation. Remember, whether it's gas prices or just higher prices for chicken and beef and all kind of stuff, a lot of that is really controlled by supply and demand. When it comes to oil, that is really a byproduct of Russia and Ukraine and sanctions there. The president of the United States, regardless of who that person may be, Congress, they don't really control a lot of that. It's just supply and demand and a foreign conflict that is determining a lot of the prices and how things are being impacted. For example, because of the oil in Russia, they're the second or third largest producer of oil in the world. We need oil to produce not just gas, but that goes into plastics, and plastic goes into almost everything. And because we're not getting as much from them, that's less oil, supply and demand, that makes things a lot more expensive. They don't have nothing to do with whoever we vote for come November. That just is, right, in this particular case. But in either case, even though that is occurring, that doesn't automatically mean that we're going into recession. Also remember that the stock market and the economy are 2 separate things. So right now, and earlier this year, we were flirting with what was called bear market territory, where the stock market was down close to 20%. And we briefly touched it for like, I don't know, 2 minutes, and then we came up off of that and we were down like, I don't know, 18 to 15%. Well, remember, if the stock market is down 10, 15%, but GDP is only down negative 1.4% in Q1, those two things aren't necessarily the same. The economy is what we actually produce and what we actually did. The stock market is more of a reflection about what we, the people and investors, expect in the future. So some are expecting a recession, so they're selling off some of the companies that they had in 2020 or earlier this year. So I expected rather, for example, I expected banks to do well. They didn't, because people are thinking that there's going to be a recession. If there was a recession, banks don't do well. So people sell out of banks and go to things like insurance and other defensive stocks. That's like the logic supposed to be. We know the stock market is the most logical thing. But the stock market is supposed to be a projection or what people think is going to happen in the future and over short term. It is a mechanism for expectations, and you could also say speculation too, like you think something amazing is going to happen. That may or may not be the case. But it is really an expectation vehicle, whereas the economy this is what actually happened. The economy was only down 1.4%. The stock market said, oh, it's going to get worse. We're going to be down 14, right? 15, 16, whatever that number is going to be. So remember, those two things are absolutely separate. And I got to throw this out there too. No administration, no point in time determines the stock price of the market either. Now, they may have more control over the economy, but not the stock market, because again, those two things are separate. So remember that when you go back and review your economic textbook that I had to read and in some cases write when I got my degree and what I do in my profession. Now, the last thing that we'll talk about is what you should do or at least consider as an investor if we even go into a recession. So on the consumer side, and this is something that's just basic, is you should be saving cash. And you want to do that standard 3 to 6 months of your income. You always want to have that is not invested. Okay, have it in a regular savings account that you can get to if something happens, because in a regular type of recession, people do unfortunately lose their jobs. You want to have something that you can pull from without paying taxes or hurting your future income and future earnings by withdrawing from a 401k or something like that. Rather, if there is a recession, you still have to pull from a retirement account, you can still be taxed. That's not fun, right? And it's like, hey, it's a recession, I need the money. Well, this is one of the main reasons why you want to have money you can get to very, very quickly if something were to occur. Have that in a savings account separate from your regular checking that you use to pay your bills. That is the cornerstone of finance, and that's the first thing I always recommend for anybody, recession or not. So you do want to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses. I like to say rent or mortgage, because we all know what that is, what that number is to a T and when it's due. So I like to be able to say something happens, I know for a fact next 6 months my mortgage is taken care of. Next 6 months my rent is taken care of. I don't need to be concerned or worried about what is going to happen. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to investments, you got two choices. I would say the first is you do have defensive stock options, like choices to pick from. I think right now insurance, and we may do a separate video on this. Insurance right now is one of the best places to be. It's in the financial sector, but I own Cigna right now. Allstate, Travelers, Progressive has done really well. Progressive, when I looked at it over the weekend, they're up 25% this year. The stock market is not up 25%. But Progressive is. So keep an eye on stocks like that. Berkshire Hathaway has cooled off a little bit, but I still think that's a quality company. So that's one thing. You can go where the market is moving. The market is moving into the insurance space. And then also you can decide, you can do these two things at the same time, is decide what companies you like for the long term that may just be at a discount. Now I know today that's the garage opening and closing. I'm not editing that out because I'm not redoing this video. So you've got what many consider a lot of quality tech names that are just down, that you could get at a discount if you believe in their long-term expectations, if you believe in what they could do over the long term. So while I am a little lukewarm on Amazon split or not, they did trade on a split adjusted basis today, so now it's $120 some odd a share. I'm lukewarm on Amazon. If you think Amazon's going to be great over long term, it's cheap. It sure is cheap, just from the fact that it's down like 20 some odd percent, if not more, this year, right? Apple is down, Microsoft is down, Google is down, Nvidia is down, Meta, if you believe in that company, they're down like 40-something%. So if you believe in that, and if you think there's a recession coming, now might be a time to get some of those shares. And if the market continues to dip, it may be a continued space for you to continue to get shares, because recessions do not last forever, and at some point things do recover. On average, it takes, I think the stat was like 18 months or so before a recession clears up and the market and the economy get back to where they were. 2020 was an aberration where it happened within a year, right? Where the stock market rather recovered within a year, and then the economy recovered shortly after. So it is possible. It is definitely possible to hit a recession. I don't know how I feel on the prospects of that just yet, but there are opportunities for you, the investor, to take advantage. You can go where the market is going now, which is some of what I will do come moving days when I make some adjustments to my portfolio. Y'all have seen me change my watch list, and we'll do a video on this week, but you've seen me change my watch list on public. I'm shifting some things around. Okay, shifting a few things around, and then for the companies I know and I feel are great long term, I'm picking them up for what I perceive to be a discount. And those are the options that you have. What happens over the next 6 months, because that'll be the end of the year, you got to sit tight and really play the long game if this is where we're going into recession territory. And that is still an if for me. I don't know yet. I'm somebody with an economics degree and I still don't know yet, just because things are very, very complicated. And I wonder personally, if Russia never invaded Ukraine, would we even be here today? Like, yes, we would still be trying to stop inflation, but a lot of that inflation is tied up into oil and how that has thrown off the prices for almost everything else. So that's a big question mark for me. We just hit 100 days in that conflict, and again, I have no idea when that is supposed to end. Not that it has an end date either. So those are my thoughts on the tweet on the recession. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think it's going to be a recession, and how are you preparing to weather the storm should that be the case? Let me know in the comments below. We got some other exclusive videos that will be coming out, including the Palantir video. I know y'all been asking for it. I've done a ton of research there. Also, you should see a join button that will give you access to the exclusive videos. I think it's like $10 a month, which is, I'm going to do one video a week. That's $2 a video. That's it. Super cheap, but high value, quality information from me, and also great questions that you get answers to exclusively, almost like this. All right, that's it for me. I'll talk to you later.